Hi, I'm Isabel, and you are watching BXO TV. And today we are going to talk to Rosalyn Palmer. And she is bringing so much wisdom and life experience in this wonderful interview. You don't want to miss why coming out from behind a mask is essential for you to reset your life. Rosalyn Palmer is an emotional well-being expert with a private practice as an advanced rapid transformational hypnotherapist and coach. She's co-host at a local radio show, Girls Around Town, love that name, had a weekly show on national DAB station Property Radio in 2018, and has a monthly newspaper column. As a best-selling author of the award-winning self-help book, Reset, A Blueprint for a Better Life, she makes understanding about emotional well-being accessible to all. A member of the National Council of Psychotherapists, General Hypnotherapy Register, and Complementary and Natural Healthcare Council, she has experienced and grown from many challenging life experiences, and this colors and tempers her writing, broadcasting, and therapy practices. Rosalyn, welcome to BXO TV. I'm so happy to be interviewing you today.
I'm delighted to be here. Hi, Isabel.
Hi, you are bringing your wisdom from so many and varied, life experiences. I can't wait for us to just dive into the interview. There is this one topic that I know we both like to talk about. It's coming out from behind the mask, and it's just so appropriate for many in our audience. Um, why is it that you think that topic is important?
Oh, well, it's something so close to my own heart. I mean, for many years, when I was running a leading PR company in London, and years before that, so I was in the PR marketing advertising world for many years. You had to behave in a certain way, you had to go out in a certain way. I naturally am probably an introvert. I did a degree in English literature. I love nothing more than sitting, reading. And I went into PR. And of course, there's a persona in PR, just like there's a persona in so many business roles. At its most extreme, you could take an actor or a comedian, who puts on a persona.
Absolutely.
Those stories people always have about meeting comedians and they're actually not that funny and not that outward going because that's their stage persona. But Beyonce, she created Sasha Fierce because
Yes.
that's the person who steps out on stage. And in many ways, that's a good thing. It can push you through a scary or a difficult situation, but we become so familiar with wearing that mask that either we don't know who we are behind it, or the dichotomy, the distance between that person who is being projected on the outside becomes so far from that person that we feel on the inside. And that was certainly true of myself when I was at the height of my success in PR and looked like I'd got it all going on and how marvelous. I felt very broken and very lonely inside. And it's really exacerbated today by social media.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Oh, yeah, where everybody's posting about how wonderful and incredible their lives are, and everything is so perfect.
yeah, and it's the edited me.
Yes.
Look at me, I'm having a wonderful time. Look at me, I'm having such fun. And, brackets, it only took me 27 selfies to get the right
Yeah.
one. And by the way, I don't tend to post myself, on a Monday morning when I'm looking, rubbish. It's why I love that Jess Glynn song that's out at the moment. I don't wear makeup on Thursdays. That's who I really am. And I think the ability to feel that you can be your authentic self and show the world who you really are is beautiful, but actually it's quite tricky to get to if you're very used to having the comfort, the armory, the disguise of that mask.
Yeah, absolutely. And the mask can hide a lot of things. What are the main Well, would you experience it with your clients, the ones that you help, what are the main problems or what the main issues are behind that mask?
Well, fundamentally, and it's becoming a catchword everywhere. I mean, Marissa Peer pioneered it, but I am enough. And again, that song by Jess Glynn, she talks about being enough. I mean, there's a new song by Boyzone when they say, "Am I enough?" I
Yeah.
mean, it's really, am I enough? Am I going to come up short? At a higher level in business, of course, you get the imposter syndrome. And so people feel, oh, I'm going to be caught out. I look like I know what's going on, but actually I don't really feel like that every day. So it's that self-doubt. It's that, am I worthy? Am I worth it? Can I hold all this together? Can I pull it off? That's really what is behind the fear that is behind the mask.
Yeah, definitely. And also this, having to meet others' expectations. Um,
Massively. And we, again, there's a saying, we play the only role we've known until it becomes our own. And particularly when you're a child, and you can go back to social anthropology and being cast in roles. I was always cast as the kind of achiever, the good girl, school
yeah, the good girl.
prefect. I was girl guide, and of course I couldn't just be girl guide. I had to be girl guide for Nottingham, when the Queen came. And that A-lister, that, as long as I'm achieving, as long as I, get the best results, everything's okay. And it's exhausting. It's really exhausting. And so we play these roles often that we're cast into. I mention it in my book. I think I say I felt like I was living the wrong life. I felt like I'd got a role that I didn't even know I'd auditioned for. And I
Yeah.
think this dawns on us as we get older, particularly in our 20s. I think it first dawned on me, and then it dawned on me more. It's a bit like, oh, do I have to be this person? Do I have to be this driven, everything's perfect person, or whatever other role you've been cast in,
Yes,
really?
you bit yeah,
Mm,
because depending on the environment in which you grew
yeah,
up, the roles can be different. But I do find that for us women, and certainly our generation, the good girl role has been been one, unfortunately, shared by many. And I say unfortunately because for so many of us, it has held us back from really being all that we can be, and not necessarily what our parents want us to be, but who we truly are, and really getting that mask down, and then growing into the woman that we can be. So for sure, it's a huge issue. So how do you help? Um, I mean, I know Reset is a wonderful book, and it's an award-winning book.
thank
Um,
you.
so it's a key into understanding a lot of these little, how do you say, how the machinery works.
Absolutely, the kind of patterns we fall into. I mean, if you want to get scientific, and I know you know this, it's the reticular activating system. The mind starts to go down these grooves,
Yes.
and it'll come back to them over and over again, and yet they're not working for us, and we feel this real dilemma between kind of the behaviors that we go back to, or what we think is expected of us, and really how we are. So I do work with a lot of women in particular, but women and men, who often through crisis, I mean, divorce, you talk about the people pleasers. There are
Yeah.
a huge number of women, particularly the baby boomers, the middle youth, as I like to call them, women in their maybe 50s or 60s, who you know trod that path. They possibly sacrificed their career, and they had the kids and everything else. They kept the house, and I'm not saying men don't do it too. The social expectations are the same on men as on women. I just tend to work with more women, and being a woman, I can relate to it.
Yes.
And then suddenly, at 50, they come home and there's a note on the kitchen table, and everything they thought was going to be that future is taken away. I'm using an extreme example, but you also get people who are in very high level executive positions, and they reach the top and they sit there and think, oh, is this it? Like
Yes.
that movie with Jack Nicholson, is this as good as it gets? Is this as good as it gets?
Yeah.
I sacrificed everything to get to this place, and I don't feel good. I don't feel happy about it. So I work with them to really get them to tap into and really understand what is it now that they get to choose. How would it look if they got to choose a life of their choosing? And of course, that's very unfamiliar for a lot of people at that stage in their life, or at any stage in their life.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what makes it so difficult to imagine tackling this on your own. And that together with the fact that all these this persona and these beliefs, I mean, virtually, it's very difficult to talk yourself out of it. But just the mere, oh, I'd like to have another life, but just, starting to probe, ask yourself, what is it that you really want, can feel so awkward.
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I address that very early in the book, and say I became very acutely aware that even having come through some things which people would say had completely derailed my life, at that point, cancer, a loss of a parent, divorce, financial loss, country change, I then embarked on a second marriage, and suddenly sat there thinking, no, I'm still in the wrong life. How did I manage that one? And I didn't know where to go at that point. And I used the little story I tell about being lost in Ireland, when I stopped somebody and said, how do I get from A to B? And the beautiful reply was, oh, you don't want to be starting from here. And
I love it.
and I said, that's how it feels. It's a bit like, I don't want to be starting from here, but you have to start from there. So then
Yeah.
you're right. There lies the question of, how do I now work out what another path would look like? And of course, that's why the therapy I do and the coaching I do absolutely addresses that. And I think you do need somebody to help you at that point,
Yeah.
because it can be very challenging to set and to re-navigate a new course for yourself at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only are you stressed because you are in a difficult position, a stressful situation, that crisis that you mentioned in itself brings up a lot of emotional stress, maybe also physical stress, illnesses. But just the mere fact that you're going to have to change. I mean, a lot of us humans are not that well equipped when it comes to accepting change and embracing change. And I really think that's where your role as a coach and as a therapist really
Yeah,
fully comes in and holds that person's hand, because you know that there is another side of the bridge. You can take them there. For the person that's in crisis, I mean, it's so difficult to imagine that it's possible. They really, really
completely. Yeah.
so benefit from your help, for sure.
And I'm not saying you have to have lived all of that, but it absolutely is an advantage for me, because I not only am a trained, rapid transformational therapist, clinical hypnotherapist, and coach, I have lived and come through those life experiences. That's what the book's about. It's like, here's what happened to me. Here's how I dealt with it. Sometimes well, sometimes quite messily. And here's what I would give the advice were I working with you now. And so I do find that, having had that experience, I'm passionate about people not having to go there to discover themselves. I was watching the icons on, we've been having an icons of the last century on the TV, and Ernest Shackleton was one of them, the great explorer in the Antarctic. And
Oh, yeah.
I feel it's maybe like what happened to them. Their ship got completely stuck in the ice and they had to navigate their way onwards and out. So people get stuck in that ice, and that's very hard to get out of yourself. So I think it's a sensible thing to do, to have somebody to facilitate and help you navigate your way out.
Yeah. Now, the thing is that sometimes it's actually difficult to ask for help.
Mm.
First, you have to imagine that there is help, so that there is hope for you. And depending on the level of despair, some people have a hard time even imagining that they can get help or that they deserve help. So that's one step. And then you have to go and dare asking for help. That's another step. How do how do you help your clients reach the point where they actually say, yes, okay, Rosalyn, I know you're the person for me. I know I need help. Let's go for it.
Yes, it's a really good question, actually, because I would say it's 50-50. I would say half of my clients have already reached a point of either such despair or such self-awareness because they've done a lot of work and they've maybe tried other therapies or other solutions, good and bad, as I did. Good, therapy, acupuncture, bad, bulimia, too
Yeah.
much alcohol, and they're finding it absolutely is no longer working for them. So they really want to change so desperately that they're there. They literally, here I am. And then the others are in that place where it's very unpleasant, but then they cope really well. So it's like a kind of a roller coaster. And I find this very much with execs and high performing people, so they'll ring you because they're here.
Yeah.
They're having a really bad week. They've just had Christmas with the in-laws. It didn't go so well. Like, they're
Right.
back at work. It's January. It's all really terrible. And then they might book an appointment, and within the next 2 weeks, that it's kind of okay again. And so
Yeah.
they're like, well, actually, I don't think I really need that. That's a sign of weakness. I've got this. I've pulled it back out of the hat. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, they will ring you again because they're down in that bell end side of
Yeah,
the curve
yeah.
again, and say, actually, I really do want to fix this. I'm fed up of this roller coaster. And I do find that is often a pattern. And I used to do the same myself. I've been there. And of course, when we're feeling good, it's why people with some serious medical conditions stop taking their tablets,
Yeah.
because they kind of feel good. It's like, I don't need it
True.
anymore because I'm feeling better about myself. So what we're going to get them is to be in a
Up there
much
all
better
the
place.
time.
Of course, things will happen, curved balls will come, life will happen, but it will give them much better coping strategies to deal with that, so they're never in this place again.
Yes, yes. And to understand that controlling the situation is not deciding to not ask for help,
Yes.
but to actually reach to that wonderful state that you just described, where whatever comes at you, you are actually stable and flowing through it.
Yes, and you have better mind hacks, and you have a better mental ability, toughness, flexibility, durability. To use my book again, you've reset yourself to a better level that you can deal with everything. I was coaching a client only earlier today who is a really senior doctor, and I was talking to him about some of the issues, and he said to me, very interestingly, he said, oh, well, it was easy for you when you were in business because you could set your own parameters, but I'm in this world, and I have to turn up, and I'm within these parameters, and so I can't deal with it so much. And It's actually not true, because even when you're self-employed, you will set your own parameters, you create your own reality. And I used with him a very exceedingly extreme analogy, which was Viktor Frankl, who came through a concentration camp, obviously. And the difference between people who survived, not just physically, but kind of were able to come out of something so horrific and survive mentally, was that every day in that place he knew that he had to have the mindset that he would survive, and that he would survive as whole as he could. I mean, it's an exceedingly extreme example, but I think you get the point I'm making.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And I love the title. Just the title of your book, Reset, is just so inspiring, and empowering, to know that it is possible to reset, and it doesn't matter what the situation is. You can blast through it. And I love the example with the doctor, because what I'm thinking when you're saying this is like, oh, beliefs,
Exactly.
it's all
Exactly.
a matter of perspective and beliefs.
Totally.
Beliefs we can
Yeah.
change, as we know.
Yeah.
So thank God for that. So, are there any, you know, preconceived ideas or misconceptions that some of your clients have when they come to you for the first time and start talking to you, that you need, any myths that you need to debunk, or?
Well, there's a lot of myths around hypnotherapy.
For
I
sure.
mean, people will say, are you going to make me dance with a broom? Or, are
Yes,
you,
I am, as
are
a
you,
matter of fact.
are you going to do something I don't really want to do? And the answer immediately is no. And I myself went to a stage hypnotherapy fun evening out sometime in the kind of 90s, and I think I did end up on stage dancing with a broom, from what I was told. But I was up for a fun night out. It was in that environment. They also work out who's highly suggestible. They do some tests and
Yes.
work out who the people are going to be very suggestible. I probably was even more suggestible because we'd probably had a glass of wine before the show, and I was with a group of friends. And so I allowed it to happen. But in normal life, if somebody were to come to me now, no, it wouldn't happen. And so again, Marissa uses the analogy of, she's worked with a lot of very wealthy clients, and if she was able to influence them that much, she'd have a fleet of Lamborghinis by now. So
Yes.
the mind will only do what it believes is right for the person, and to kind of keep them safe. It will not go out of its set and its parameters. So that's probably the one that you do have to reassure people. People then are, can I be hypnotized? I'm not sure that I'm a very relaxed person,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure. And again, it's not about depth of trance. Some people, it's like that daydreaming you have when you're driving and you miss the motorway turning, and you think, oh, where did that 10 minutes go? You were still operating that car, but you were kind of off in your thoughts somewhere. It can be at that level, or it can be incredibly deep, where people literally fall asleep. And again, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's about how suggestible people are, and it's about how invested they are in making that change, which is why I know that those 50% of people who walk through the door going, I've tried everything else, please make this work, they're very invested at that point in their life.
Yes. Well, it's so wonderful that you're pointing it out, that it's important for anyone who seeks change to be invested, and that you do empower your clients, and into being invested, and in being the actor of their own change. And you can't just sit, and say, okay, fix it,
No,
fix
it's a
it for me,
partnership.
Rosalie.
It's a partnership,
Yes.
and again, I would always stress that to people. It's no different than if I joined the gym and I had a personal trainer, and I say I want to be marathon fit by June, and they give me a training schedule, and I go to the gym and I sit there on my mobile phone and don't do anything, or I don't get up and do the exercise. It's a partnership. They can facilitate, they can empower, they can guide, they can take you there. And that's exactly what I do, and any good therapist and coach will do. And it's a partnership. That person has to also be invested in their own change.
Yes, definitely. Like always, it's
Yeah,
that's how it works.
of course.
Absolutely. Now, I know that your book, if we want to have access to your book, we should go to resetyourjoy.com. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's my own website, and
Okay,
you can
wonderful.
certainly get it through that. That way, you could fill in a form, and I can actually send you out a signed copy, or you can go to
Oh,
amazon.co.uk or amazon.com and buy it through Amazon.
oh, well,
And
I'll put the links in the show notes,
yeah,
obviously.
lovely.
And if someone in the audience wants to reach out and wants to talk to you, Rosalind, they should go to rosalynpalmer.com / sign up. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's sign up for my newsletter.
Okay.
And also on that link, you get a free download called I'm So Overwhelmed. And who isn't? Um,
Yeah, I love
so
that.
if they go to that link, or otherwise they just go to my main website, which is rosalynpalmer.com, they can find that sign up, or there are also inquiry forms on that page that they can send through their inquiry to get into my booking system, or they can book a discovery call and have a short call with me when we can find out more about each other and how I can help.
Oh, that sounds wonderful, Rosalind. So I will definitely, obviously, put everything in the show notes, no problem. And I, you extraordinary beings out there, I really
Thank you.
recommend that you get the book Reset. I call it Reset book, but it's
Well, it is. I mean, that's the whole
it
point.
is. That's what it
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah. Let's
Because
reset. Press that
that's
button. Reset like your
yeah,
computer.
reset. And I mean, surely in this digital age, I think we know what reset means because I've tried a number of times on my different equipment
Exactly. And that's
and
why it came to me. I thought, wouldn't it be great if there was a button that you could do it for your life, the same that we do for our computer? So effectively, that's what I'm offering people.
yeah, that's perfect. And the difference is that it works because we sometimes we do press the button for equipment and it doesn't necessarily
Yeah,
solve the
tell me.
problem.
Yeah, tell me.
But this is another form of reset, ones that
Yeah,
works.
and I'm really proud of it because I wanted to not just write a book, but I wanted to write a good book. My background is literature and writing. I'm a member of the
Oh,
British Association of Journalists.
that's
I have
that's a lot of pressure for you.
yeah, and so what I love is the feedback I get, and if you look at the reviews on, certainly on Amazon, is it's really readable. It's really easy to read. I think all my years in PR and marketing, what I had to do was take quite complex things and make them simple. And
Yes,
so I have taken what is really a complex area about, life and things that go wrong and all those challenges we face, and I've made it as simple and understandable as possible. I've offered simple solutions, and along the way, I've been incredibly vulnerable and incredibly open and said to people, this is what it looked like and felt like for me. So I think that's quite a nice combination.
wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. It makes it relatable, which is
Yes.
important, and it gives hope that change is possible and a great life is possible. So I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for being with us today, Rosalind.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you're contributing with to this planet for the a better life for so many. human beings. It's your work is very special, and it's an honor to have you today with us on BXR TV. And my friends, my extraordinary beings, until next time, be extraordinary. Bye-bye.
Thank you.